future, one that's cleaner, smarter, and ready for change. And the East Coast Economic Region Development Council, or ECERDC, is leading the way with green manufacturing zones and carbon capture innovation. It's not just about factories, it's about jobs, investment, and Malaysia's place in a low-carbon world. As global pressure grows, the question is, will we lead the green economy or fall behind? This is Money Matters. Hello and good evening. You're tuned into TV3, where you can also stream on Tonton. I'm Zahir Kelvinong Abdullah, and today we are looking at how Malaysia is building a cleaner, smarter industrial future and why the East Coast is at the heart of that transformation. Joining us today is the Chief Operating Officer of the East Coast Economic Region Development Council, ECERDC, Datuk Raghu Sampasivam. Datuk, welcome to Money Matters.
Thank you.
Pleasure having you with us. Can I start by asking you that the PM had announced that ECERDC had the amount of committed investments has reached 10.4 billion ringgit, and you have already surpassed the 10 billion ringgit target set for 2025. So, in your opinion, how was this achieved?
First of all, thank you for having us here today. And yeah, it was a tough target for us to meet up to. And somehow our collaboration with MIDA, Malaysian Investment Development Authority, with their overseas officers, and with some working relationship that we have with all the chambers of commerce, both in Malaysia and also like countries in China and in Japan, we have managed to build the rapport and to attract some of the investors to come into the East Coast Economic Zone. And in fact, to date, it has gone up to about 11 billion committed investment, and of which we have also realized almost up to 9.5 billion of realized investments on the ground. That means works have started or factories are operational, so that's the current status of the investments in the East Coast.
Okay, so looking at this, Dato', which was the main sector for these realized investments?
In ECR, it's a bit spread out. We have a bit in the new energy part. There are some, what do you call, hydro projects that have taken off, mini hydro projects have taken off. We also have oil and gas related specialty chemical companies which have started operations or their commencement of construction at the site. We have tourism projects in the East Coast as well, and not to forget agriculture projects. So it has got all the four key areas of sectors that are driving Malaysia's economy in it.
Okay, so can we talk about Malaysia's industrial strategy in a changing global landscape? Because global supply chains are shifting rapidly towards electric vehicles, advanced materials, and carbon capture technologies. So how is Malaysia positioning itself in this, can I call it a changing global landscape? And what role does the East Coast play?
Okay, I think in a couple of years back, new policies have come into play. At the national level, the National Energy Transformation Roadmap, NETR, has come into play, where Malaysia, the government has put in certain action plans, how we are going to adopt the green initiatives and how are we going to sort of lessen our reliance on the fossil fuel and things like that. And in those regards, I think in the East Coast itself, like I said, we have some investments in the hydro projects, solar farms that are coming into play that are actually supplementing the national energy grid as well, electricity grid. And as for advanced materials in the East Coast, we are looking at how can we harness the resources that we have in the rare earth elements. And initial steps have been taken to realize the potential of the rare earth in the East Coast itself. And yeah, these are some of the actions that we have tied ourselves up with the national policies. And also the National Industrial Master Plan number 3 is now ongoing. And we are looking at some of the areas I spoke about earlier, chemical industry, E&E. These are some of the drivers of the new industrial growth that Malaysia is looking at and aligning itself with the main goals around the world itself.
Right. So you were talking about rare earth just now.
Yeah.
So Are we still pushing for that? Because I think, as we know from all the news reports, that China is actually taking a step back where rare earth is concerned.
Yes, it's true. For China, in fact, they don't allow the technology or any knowledge about the rare earth to go out of China. It's treasonous for them to do that. But we already have a processing plant in Malaysia, which is in Kuantan, Linus, as we all know. For good or bad, it's attracted a lot of sun. But it is there. And currently, we are importing the materials from Australia before it's processed. And here we have rare earth in Malaysia itself. Why don't we use it for our own resources, value added locally, and get better value for the resources that we have? And we are working a bit with the Japanese in this regard, and some initial discussions and negotiations have been going on in some of the states how to realize the potential of the rare earth in Malaysia itself.
Okay, all right. So let's talk about strategic advantages of the East Coast. So the East Coast is obviously emerging as a new growth frontier for high-value industries, thanks to you. So from ECERDC's perspective, what are the key factors that make the ECER region attractive to companies looking to expand or perhaps diversify their operations in Southeast Asia?
Okay. About a couple of years back, we came up with this tagline, closer than you think, that the ECR is closer than you think. I mean, for West Coast Malaysians, we always think, want to go to ECR, East Coast is so far away and things like that. But government has put up some infrastructure projects, the LPT 2 and 1, 2, and which has taken place, which connectivity has increased to the East Coast. Through ECRDC, we have also expanded the Kuantan port. Now it's a deep water port which can take in the post-Panamax ships as well. And we are constructing the East Coast rail line, ECRL, which will be completed end of next year, and 1st January 2027, it should be operational up to Gombak, and in 2028 up to Port Klang. So these infrastructure projects have made it more reachable. It's much closer than we think. And from Kuantan port to the Far East, like China, Korea, and Japan, the sailing time, you shorten the sailing time as well. So that positions ECR in a very strategic place to attract investments, where people are looking at a lower cost of doing business, easier market reach is still there. Because from Kuantan, you can still take the rail 4 hours, you can be in Port Klang and send it to India, Middle East, or even Europe. On the other hand, on this side, you can use Kuantan port to send it to Japan, Korea, or even Americas. So that positions the East Coast as a very strategic and new growth area that we are trying to promote. And
so this is a very interesting, perhaps, perspective. Is there any rivalry between East Coast and West Coast?
Not really, because if you look at it, if I take from the top, Penang, Kulim Industrial Park, they're looking at very advanced electronic industries, E&E, the semiconductor industries and all. They already got an ecosystem working there, and recently the billions of investments are coming are related to those things. If you come down to Selangor and Kuala Lumpur, it's becoming a financial center, more of the high, for the head offices and all to be placed here. If you go down to Johor, they are complementing the Johor-Singapore Special Economic Zone with Singapore there in play. As for East Coast, we are looking at hard-to-abate industry, chemical industry, and tourism and a bit of agriculture as well with the vastness of the land there. So we are putting ourselves in our own space, and there's no competition, but more of complementary roles that are being played between all these regions, I would say.
Okay, that's good to hear. Dato', we've got to go for our first break. Hold that thought. We're talking to the Chief Operating Officer of the East Coast Economic Region Development Council, ECERDC, Dato' Raghu Samasivam. Thank you for staying with us on Money Matters. We're talking to Dato' Raghu Sambasivam, Chief Operating Officer of the East Coast Economic Region Development Council. Dato', can I ask you about the anchors of growth? ECERDC has been developing thematic industrial parks across the East Coast. How do these parks basically demonstrate Malaysia's readiness for advanced manufacturing and carbon capture?
Okay. We have a few thematic industrial parks leveraging on the strength of the region itself. One of our most successful parks is the Kerteh Biopolymer Park. It's adjacent to the Kerteh Integrated Petrochemical Complex. So there we are looking at downstreaming of the petrochemical products into specialty chemicals and chemical-related industries. We have about 5 billion worth of investments already on the ground, and factories are already functioning there and offering jobs to the locals as well. So that is one of the areas where Malaysia is moving towards the specialty chemicals, so that's there. In Pekan, we already had the first phase of the automotive park. We then came up with the second phase of the automotive park. Recently, we have got an investor who's just signed with us and looking into producing magnets. And these magnets are used for electric vehicles and things like that. So we are moving in the advanced thing. Because of the thematic park, the ecosystem is created within the park itself. The like players are there, so there's interdependency can be formed, and the suppliers can also go into that. And as I said before, when people thought East Coast is so far away, by creating these parks, we create an environment where it makes it easier for them to start their business rather than they go looking for industrial space and all. We created these parks with ready infrastructure. That means the roads are there, drainage, water, sewer, everything is there. So they just have to come and build their factory, plug into the water system, electrical system, and start functioning. So that's how we have created. So we have the automotive park, they have the biopolymer park, and we also have a technology park in Pahang near Gambang, which is looking at some of these data centers. We are trying to attract them as an alternative to Johor itself. And so far we have attracted one company which is doing actually medical devices for cranial replacements. They do 3D printing there, and the local hospitals are actually using their product for cranial replacements.
Oh, interesting.
And they're going into other parts, like I think hip joint or things like that. They're in the process of doing that.
Okay. So looking at this, obviously job creation is also part of the opportunity for the East Coast to grow by having all these parks, correct?
Yes, it is. In fact, when we set our KPIs annually, it's not just the investment number, but the number of employment it's created. We have a target to be fulfilled. And also entrepreneurial opportunities. That means local entrepreneurs getting a share of this investment. So that is also our KPI. So we try to promote that. We used to have this entrepreneur ECR programs to help the entrepreneurs, empower skills ECR, which is to help some of these local talents to be upskilled to fit into the kind of industries that are coming in there. So we do that to enhance the local participation in these investments that are happening. And another point to note, we have noticed a trend of normally people from the East Coast were migrating to the West Coast in search of jobs. From the data we are seeing, there's been the trend has been going down. In fact, Pahang has shown an in-migration into their state. So these are some of the positive signs of what we have done together with all our partners, I mean the state governments, MIDA, MITI and everyone, to bring about some change into the East Coast and the investments that are going in there.
Oh, that's of course very, very commendable. Okay, looking at investment milestones and of course economic impact, Dato', correct me if I'm wrong here, with 7.6 billion ringgit in realized investments as of September 2025, though you did say the figure is higher now. The growth trajectory is encouraging. So what are the next milestones for the region, and how is ECRDC facilitating these opportunities to deliver tangible benefits for investors and local industries?
Okay. 2025 will be the end of our master plan number 2. When we were formed in 2008, we came out with a master plan number 1, a 3-volume document with exact projects, steps to be taken to realize this growth trajectory. But when the 2017-18, we realized Industry 4.0 was changing the landscape. So we had a review of the master plan. We came out with the master plan 2.0 up to 2025 with a target of 70 billion investments to be attracted into the region, to be realized. I'm proud to say that we have achieved that, which will be ending 2025, before the end of 2025. And we came out with our master plan number 3.0, that is 2026 to 2030. We have set a target of 55 billion of realized investment to be brought into the region by 2030. So that is the target and growth trajectory we are looking at moving forward. And this will cover 4 main sectors: agriculture, tourism, manufacturing, and we are looking at shipbuilding and ship repair, looking at the fishery industry there, and also the oil and gas industry there, supported by logistics with the ECRL coming into play, and also the CCUS, carbon capture and renewable energy, to support this green initiative that are taking place in the region itself.
Mm-hmm. But how do you set these targets? Because it's quite a lofty sum in terms of your plan.
Yeah. But if you break it down to year on year, it's about, we took something that's doable, about 8 to 10 billion per annum. Mm-hmm. And looking at our trend over the last few years, we have been somewhat reaching around that numbers. I know this is
well,
a fraction.
Modest. It's not just reaching, you're surpassing it. Right?
Yeah, yeah, thank you. But it's a fraction compared to what Penang is attracting, because E&E industry is very heavy capex, and also what's happening in Johor now. But for a region that's considered a greenfield that's growing, I think the 10 billion makes a lot of a difference in changing the landscape of the region itself.
Right. Okay, let's move to building global partnerships, because MCKIP is a prime example of Malaysia-China collaboration. What insights has ECRDC gained from this partnership, and how are these shaping your approach to attract new strategic investors and partners to the region? Because I think, do you see other ASEAN countries as also being, fighting for the same pie, if I may use that, for what you plan to achieve in the East Coast?
Yes, I'll speak about the pie first. Tea time in Hungary. Yes, like Vietnam is one of our close competitors, I would say, to Malaysia and Thailand as well. But then I think the government over the years have put into place certain action plans that has benefited, and that is driving the growth. For East Coast, we came up with the East Coast Economic Region. We put some of the key infrastructures in place. Some are still being put in place, like the rail is going to come. And we also establish a country-to-country relationship. Like in the case of Kuantan, we have the Malaysia-China Industrial Park, which is the first government-to-government, nationally recognized industrial park. The sister park is in Jinzhou in Guangxi region in China. And it was part of the the Belt and Road Initiative. And we used to hear all the stories about how this Belt and Road is going to be one-sided. But I think in our case, we had an arm's length kind of dealing with how we develop these projects. And we got the Chinese to have a skin in the game as well. Like in Kuantan Port, they had to invest also in the port. In MCKIP, 49% is invested by the Chinese investors as well. So when you have a skin in the game, you have to make it successful as well. And even the rail, for that matter, the OPCO is going to be jointly done with the Chinese investors as well. So they all have to make sure that these projects are successful. So I think that's one of the insights I would say we learned, in the sense that you got a hard bargain and get what is best for your country at the end of the day, and make it successful for both parties.
Excellent. Yeah. Dato', we've just got to go for a final break. Stay with us. We're talking to the Chief Operating Officer of the East Coast Economic Region Development Council. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us on Money Matters. Now, Dato, adding on to what you said, the vision for ECR 2026 to 2030, looking ahead, what impact will ECR have on Malaysia's economy and its net zero transition as we move towards 2030?
Okay. Under the new energy transmission roadmap, I think one of the key things that was initiated was the CCUS, carbon capture and utilization and storage. And we are happy to state that the East Coast is one of the three, has got two of the three spots where they're going to do it as a pilot project. One in, I think, Sarawak, one will be Kuantan, the other one Kemaman. And in fact, the negotiations with the port authorities between Petronas and the port authorities have started. And we are now talking to our investors to see how they can be part of this initiative where the carbon footprint could be captured, carbon dioxide could be captured and stored in the CCUS off the coast of Kuantan and also Kemaman. So this is part of our role that we are playing in ensuring that there is this green initiative that's carried through.
Right. So can we move on to carbon tax, right?
Yeah.
So the policy readiness and industry impact. Malaysia is, of course, expected to introduce a carbon tax as part of its energy transition roadmap. So how is ECRDC preparing industries in the East Coast to adapt to this shift? And what role can ECER play in helping businesses balance compliance with competitiveness?
One of the ways, we are still not sure about how this is really going to impact the extent of the tax that's going to impact. But as of now, with the CCUS coming in, that should be able to offset quite a bit of the carbon footprint, because we are looking at 10 million metric tons kind of the carbon capture that we are talking about. So that should help industries to show that, look, my footprint is almost negligible. At the end of the day, I'm using this system to defray the whole thing from the atmosphere. So I think that will be one way, and that's how we are in fact selling or promoting our place in the East Coast, saying that if you bring your industry here, you can leverage on the CCUS, offset your carbon footprint, and minimize your impact on the tax and things like that.
Okay, I need your take on this, because about 3 weeks ago, I interviewed for Money Matters Dr. Renat Siu. He's the president of the Malaysian Carbon Market Association, and he mentioned that there were a lot of concerns when he engaged with SMEs especially, that carbon tax might drive up costs for businesses and consumers. So because most people are worried that because it drives up costs for businesses, they might pass it down to consumers. So how do you think we can strike a balance here between environmental responsibility and economic competitiveness?
That's a tough one. Yeah, it's not easy. Normally when you put these taxes, eventually it will pass on to the end users. One way of looking at it, approaching it, would be to take gradual steps rather than putting something that will shock the system. And now you heard from, of course, the topic or flavor of the year is Trump, and he's dishing this whole green initiatives and carbon initiatives. So we don't know how the world is going to react to this in the next couple of years, and whether this is really going to be something that we will be pursuing, or it might be a fad that might just die off. So that's why I would prefer to take a gradual step. We are coming out with the CCUS, let us put that in place, and then let's take it from there and see how it works for our local industry. At the end of the day, we still have to protect our local industry. We can't burden them too much. But if they are exporting to end users who rely on ESG compliance and things like that, then we probably need to give them some tax breaks to help them out in the initial years.
Yes, he did mention that as well. So let's look at the Malaysia's Budget 2026. The East Coast Economic Region Development Council, basically, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, does not receive a single cent from the budget, correct?
No, we did. We do.
Okay.
We do get development budget from the government.
But is it a specified budget allocation, or do you perhaps operate on a broader national investment plan?
You see, all projects that we are implementing is endorsed by Ministry of Economic, who at the end of the day determine who gets what portion of the budget for the implementation of the projects. So we have re-put our proposals. We have some continuing projects that are still ongoing, so we need budgetary requirements for that. So the budget has allocated certain amount for that. We have also been given a couple of new projects to be initiated in the coming year. So for that also budget has been given. So we will be carrying out those projects for the East Coast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you've talked about different sectors, but the only sector that we haven't touched on basically is the tourism sector where the East Coast is concerned. So in terms of that, the attractions and perhaps what you are doing in terms of making sure that tourism is a boost for the East Coast.
Yeah. If you look at our website, we have this thing, distinctive, dynamic, and competitive. The region is such. The distinctiveness is about the culture and the environment or the nature in the East Coast. It's very distinctive. We got 2 national parks, Taman Negara and Endau Rompin. We got one of the most beautiful islands off the coast of Malaysia. We got Tioman, we got Redang, we got Perhentian. So tourism is a key thing, and we also have beautiful coastal line. Compared to West Coast, I think East Coast has got much better looking beach fronts. And we were trying to initiate this new thing called RV tourism industry, recreational vehicles, caravans, and motorhomes. And we've been working very closely with some German investors and things like that, trying to bring that new industry into the region. Because, you know, you can go from coastal areas to the green Taman Negaras, and you got Tasik Chini with its legends and things like that. So people can take a drive around the East Coast. So that will help the local entrepreneurs and people to get the benefits of the tourism dollar. So it's spread over the region itself. So that's one of the things we are looking into. And with the rail coming into play, so we are looking at the rail tourism as well. I mean, people from KL would love to go and hit the beach. And it's only going to take 2 hours to go to Kuantan. Now 40 minutes to Kuantan by rail from Gombak. So it's a good opportunity to just pack your stuff, sit in the train, read a book. In 2 hours you're in Kuantan, sit by the beach, sip some nice drink, and enjoy the offerings in the East Coast. So we foresee this rail might even help the tourism to grow in the East Coast region project.
Okay, Dato', it's been a pleasure having you with us on Money Matters. Thank you.
Thank you once again for inviting us.
Welcome. For the past half an hour, you've been with us on Money Matters. If you miss any part of today's show, you can always catch it up on Tonton. I'm Zahir Calvin Abdullah. Thank you for watching. Now, this marks the last episode for this year. It's been a great season. We'll be taking a break, and we'll see you again in the next one. Have a wonderful weekend.